we're going to do is we're going to have a look at theta exercise 1.08 question 1d, and this is coordinate geometry, and what we'll be looking at is what's called the two-point equation. Now up here I've actually just written out the point gradient equation, so if you just knew a point and a gradient you'd use this equation here, but each of the points here rely on no gradient being known, and we could separately calculate the gradient and then add that in and use the point gradient equation, but we're going to use the two-point equation. So let's go ahead, or the point-point equation as it's also known. I've chosen to do 1D because I gave you the others for homework. All right, so let's have a look here and see how we go. So 1D, so I'll write that out as it's here. So we've got the point, and I'll use a sharp pencil for this one. Here we go. Which means I'll probably break it as I go along. I've got 4, 3, and I've also got, that's also, I'll put a comma here, and we've got a -1, -2. Oops, there it goes. Never mind. All right, so we're going to use the two-point equations, which is y minus y1 over x minus x1 is equal to y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. And experts at this will notice that this bit over here is in fact the gradient. That's the m formula. That's going to find us the gradient. We're not concerned about that though. We're just going to plonk all of these straight into the equation and see where we land. The things we're not going to change are y and x. They're going to remain unchanged. They're invariant. However, we're going to label these x1, y1, x2, y2. It doesn't matter which order you do them, as long as if this was an x1 and a y1, this would become x2 and y2. Doesn't matter which way you do it, will always work out. So let's have a look here, and I'll call that one x1. So this has to now be y1, can't be y2. This is x1, this has to be x2, and this has to be y2. Keep the 1s and the 2s within the same brackets. All right, let's take a look then. So that implies that, and again, I'll leave the x and the y the same. Now, the other things, though, we're going to change. Well, y1 is a 3. We've got an x1, which is a 4. And that's equal to, and I want to keep those equals under each other the best I can, y2 is -2, minus y1 is a 3, over x2 is a -1, minus, and then x1 is a, what do we got here? Sorry. Next one, sorry, is a 4. I'm looking at the wrong thing. All right. I nearly messed that up. So this I'm going to leave the same. Y minus 3 over x minus 4 is equal to, well, this is actually -5, and the bottom's also -5. And of course, -5 divided by -5 is essentially just 1. So what that means is, and I can put 1 over 1 if I need to, but 1 times that is equal to 1 times this. So I'm going to cross multiply at this point. I'm going to go that times that is equal to that times that. In other words, that is equal to that. In other words, it doesn't change. So let's just write that. Y minus 3 is equal to x minus 4. Not doing a good job of keeping equals under each other. I apologize for that. But now we want to get this into what's called the general form. So the general form for the equation is going to be something x and something y plus a number equals 0. So I'm going to subtract x from both sides. There we go. I'm left now, and I'll do it step by step so you can see it happening. Y minus x minus 3 is equal to -4. Well, that's all well and good. I want the -4 to disappear because that has to be 0. So I'm going to add 4 to both sides. There it is. So, of course, this now is 0. That's what we wanted. We want to get to 0. Now, we've got y minus x, and we've got 4 minus 3, or -4, -3 and 4 is going to be a +1. Now, that's all well and good, and that's not too bad, except we want to have the x first. And the x is negative. You could actually write, if you wanted, -x plus y plus 1 equals 0. But this has now what we term, well, we've got a negative out the front here. We don't really want that. So we can actually get rid of the negative. And what we're going to do is we're just going to multiply everything by -1. So I'm going to multiply this by -1, this by -1, this by -1, and this by -1. And by doing that, it becomes more succinct. We actually lose one of the components of the equation, one of the elements. Well, negative 1 times x is now x, negative disappears, and it's replaced with a negative y, because negative 1 times y, negative y, this now is a negative 1, and this remains 0. But notice now, we've got an x minus y minus 1 equals 0, and we had an extra component here. We've got rid of the minus here. The plus has become a minus, the plus will become a minus, and we're one component less. And that's the answer that I would say that's the best answer. So just look for the opportunity to do that if you can. And that would be how I would express that answer.